Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDxLondon experts in under 5 minutes.
In this week's Climate Curious, we're talking minerals, specifically how transition minerals like cobalt, copper, lithium and nickel, which are vital for many green technologies, impact Indigenous people. Sharing her thoughts with us today, we have a member of an Indigenous group in Siberia, the Buryat peoples, Galina Angarova. Let's head over to her now to hear more. Stay curious.
So, I come from an Indigenous community west of Lake Baikal, which is the largest and the deepest freshwater lake, containing 20% of the world's freshwater in the world. It's called the Sacred Lake. Among our people, it's the sacred place where we perform our traditional ceremonies. So I come from the Abzai clan of the Curated nation of the Buryat peoples. We are a big nation of about 400,000 people. And I come from the Issey nation, which is about 70,000 people, which is part of that bigger group of peoples, Buryat peoples. The term critical minerals is driven by the industry, by the mining industry. In some spaces, they're called critical minerals. We choose to call them transition minerals. So everything you call critical becomes critical, right? On the market. So these are minerals such as cobalt, copper, lithium, nickel, and a list of 30-some minerals that are used in the production of clean and renewable energy technologies, including batteries for electric vehicles and larger battery technologies that are used for accumulating the energy and storing the energy. And again, other technologies like solar, wind, and many other new technologies. In 2022, when the study came out about the impacts, and it was kind of predicted, but we just didn't know the total number, because in some of the countries, the numbers can go as high as 80 to 90%, like in the United States. There's some study that also became available around the same time, or a little bit early than the study from the University of Queensland, showing that for some of the minerals, transition minerals, the numbers can go up to 89, 90%, and they are located in the 35-mile radius within the Native American reservations. So, and then in Africa, I think it's around 75%. So there are various numbers that are floating around, but the premise is that there's really a large percentage of those minerals are on Indigenous people's lands, and it poses an existential threat to many communities around the world. The truth is that life on Earth is sustained by a delicate balance of interconnected systems, and disrupting this balance has far-reaching consequences. Every action that we take has a consequence. This is the reality that is deeply understood by many Indigenous peoples. We recognize that someone always pays the price for destabilizing this equilibrium. Too often, it is the most vulnerable among us who bear the burden. Those least responsible for the crisis, yet most affected by its consequences. And it's true for Indigenous peoples. So, to your question, one of the solutions put forward to address the issue of climate change is the transition to a green economy, to net zero, which aims to mitigate carbon emissions through the development and deployment of renewable energy technologies and electric mobility, including electric vehicles. Though this idea sounds really hopeful and optimistic, I too want to believe in it. Its current frameworks perpetuate the same harms of the fossil fuel industry. So driving a new wave of extractivism into Indigenous lands to supply the green economy with minerals like lithium, copper, cobalt, nickel, and others, which I named before, is devastating Indigenous people's lands and territories.
Thanks for listening to this quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time,
Stay curious.